The natural cross that hangs around Jesus' neck, that hangs around people's neck rather, is no more holier than if you had the picture of a gas chamber or the picture of an electric chair. And let me ask you this. Would you wear an electric chair? You said no. Of course. Why? Because you know that's an instrument of crucifixion. You know that's the instrument that the United States uses to crucify or to kill those who they deem have committed crimes. But we haven't been taught that. We thought that Jesus was the only one on the cross, so we deified the cross. No, absolutely not. I'm not referring to the significance of the cross, which is what? The significance of the cross is not the wood. The significance of the cross is not the instrument that Jesus was crucified on, or that hangs in your church, that you put a scarlet piece of cloth up beginning Lent, and then after resurrection you put a white piece of cloth up on foolery. No, ceremonialism. The significance of the cross is self-surrender, self-discipline, and self-denial. If we put work into self-surrender, self-discipline, and self-denial as much as we put in the ceremonialism, then we would really experience the power of his resurrection. All right, stay with me. Hang with me. We had an audio glitch, but we back. That's what happens in real time. But I'm going to finish. I'm more determined to finish it. So I'm not referring to the significance of the cross. The significance. I embrace the significance. But what I don't embrace is the fallacies, the ceremonialism. The reality is there is power in the significance of self-surrender, self-discipline, and self-denial. Those are the ways he said, I understand the power. I tap into the power of his resurrection. But ceremonialism, changing the cloths on the cross, wearing white on this day, doing this sunrise. Because I'm about to tell you, sunrise ain't sunrise when you look at the Jewish count. But anyway, let me hold up. Like, share, subscribe, follow. So I'm talking about there's no power. There's no power around what we hang around our necks. I didn't say don't hang it around your necks. Understand? When you're a bishop or you're an apostle, you hang it around your neck and put it in your pocket because the cross is close to your heart. I get it. I've been ordained. I've been through all of that, right? We know that. But what I'm saying is the reality of it is it has no power connected to the resurrection. None whatsoever. Question. Would you wear an electric chair around your neck? No. Amen. Case closed. Hundreds of people were put to death on the cross. So the wooden instrument in and of itself cannot be sacred. Now that's a fallacy. I know I'm going to get pushed back on that. My email, thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Back to my point. Yes, Jesus was crucified. I didn't forget that. On a cross. But he died, which means he surrendered. Remember, he said, don't nobody take my life. If he died on the cross, that means the Romans took his life. He says, but I lay my life down. When did he lay his life down? When did he die? When did he what? Surrender in the garden. That's why I'm not playing with words or semantics. He was crucified on the cross, but he died in Gethsemane. Now, I'm not going to make this a whole Bible study because it's not a Bible study. This is a podcast. But for clarity, I am going to read a passage of scripture out of the book, the Holy Writ of Mark, chapter number 14, verses 32. They went to a place called Gethsemane, the press. And Jesus said to his disciples, sit here while I pray. He was agonizing. He took Peter, James, and John with him and began, watch this, to be deeply distressed and troubled. You would too if you knew you had to die and you was going to go through that much pain. Now watch what he says in 34. I'm going to tell you when he died. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. My soul in the garden, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death, not on the cross. In the garden, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. He said to them, stay here and keep watch. Stay here and keep watch. Going a little further, he fell to the ground and prayed that if it be possible, the hour may pass from him. He said, please, please, if there's another way you can redeem it, please. Abba, Father, he said, everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me. Yet, watch the death, not what I will, but what you will. Bam. Then he returned to his disciples, found them sleeping, and said, are you asleep? Couldn't you not watch for me 1 hour? Watch and pray so you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Once more, he went away and prayed the same thing. When he came back, he was gone by that time. Watch what his response was. At this point, he says, it don't even matter. I surrendered. I submitted. I'm good as dead. Let's roll out. Watch this. I summarized it. Once more, he went away and prayed the same thing. When he came back, he found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. They did not know what to say to him. Returning the third time, he said, are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. The hour has come. Look, the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. He says, they won't take my life, they'll take my body, but I'll lay down my life, and all they'll get is my body. At that point, Jesus was spiritually dead. And he died when you go back up, when he says, take this cup from me. He says, my soul is troubled and distressed and overwhelmed to the point of death. See, so he died, and we miss Gethsemane. We focus in on all the action. But Gethsemane was a sobering moment. Gethsemane was a sobering moment. The crucifixion was a blood sacrifice. The crucifixion was a blood. Why? Because before it was lambs, it was goats, it was God required blood. God required blood. Why? The life of the flesh is in blood. I need something living as a sacrifice. The crucifixion was a blood sacrifice for sins. So if we say Jesus died, no, if you say Jesus died on Friday and the crucifixion is a eerie, gory, bloody sacrifice, how is it good? You say, well, it's good because he wrote. No. How is the event in and of itself? I'm not talking about the results. How is the event? I mean, that's like going to a human sacrifice and saying, well, they're going to get promoted in the music world, but I tell you what, it's Good Friday when they sacrifice. No. The ends don't justify the means like that. So how is it good? Where does it call? First of all, if it was a Friday, and I got to get to that. Good. The crucifixion was a blood sacrifice. Isaiah said we didn't even recognize him when he was hanging on the cross. He said, I didn't even know who that was. They had marred and beat and scarred him so bad. Who is that? And we call that good? Well, yeah, it was good because his sin saved. I'm not talking about the ends justifying the means. I'm talking about the event. But you call it good. The point is to get us caught up in rituals and forget the power of the blood. The blood on the cross was the main character on Good Friday. The blood on the cross. But yet we have services. And I'm guilty. I had them before. celebrating all the events that happened around the cross, like the events like the 7 last sayings or the 7 last words or what Jesus was saying. And what's interesting, if you go by what Jesus said, 6 of those words were to his Father. So why are we in the conversation? And the one was where he says, woman, behold thy son. But Father, forgive them. I thirst. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. All of those were a conversation he was having with his Father. So why we got to peep in on that and make a whole ceremony around that, when understanding that the event when Jesus was on the cross was the fact that the blood was the character, not the conversations at the foot of the cross. It was the blood that was on the cross. It was the blood that was running down Golgotha's hill. It was the blood stains on his brow. That's the main character of what we call, what you call Good Friday. Not all the conversation, all the chatter. It's like somebody trying to memorialize a loved one, but when you get to the memorial, instead of talking about the work that the loved one has done and how they affected you, you're talking about all the conversations that took place at their dying bed. What? And then what Jesus was saying wasn't to us. It was his Father's conversation. But again, another attempt to ceremonialize, to take away the spiritual significance of one of the most powerful events that have ever occurred in the world. Like this, share this, subscribe, follow. The point is to get us caught up in rituals and forget the power of the resurrection. Another fallacy. I'm almost finished now. I know you can't take, but so, and I'm feeling, even through technology where you at, I'm putting a lot, look at the replay, go check it out. I've been studying this for years. A lot of this I've been knowing for years. I've just been released to release it. Another fallacy. Okay, so we have Good Friday, and I'm saying all these in quotations. I'm talking your language. Good Friday, Silent Saturday, and Easter Sunday. No, Holy Thursday, when he has the Passover. Good Friday, when he's crucified. Silent Saturday, when he lays in the ground. You don't hear nothing. Then Sunday, he rises. So they put him in the ground usually about 3 on Friday. By the time they finish preaching, about 3. So 3 on Saturday is 1 day, p.m. 3 on Sunday is 2 days. Where'd the other day go? Now, what am I talking about? The math ain't mathin'. Do you remember when Jesus was asked, how long would the Son of Man be in the earth, which was himself? And he responded, as Jonah, this was his response, he was very clear, was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. So shall the Son of Man be. Now, 3 days and 3 nights. So I got a question. I got questions. How do we get 3 days and 3 nights over the weekend? So now, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just pointing these in. So either one or two things. Either he was not crucified on a Friday, or God forbid, he did not rise on a Sunday. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Or both. Because the math ain't math. He said it. History didn't say it. He said As Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights, not 2 nights in a day, because that's what a weekend would be, 2 nights in a day. Friday, 3 p.m. or 12 noon, whatever you want to make it, till Saturday, that's 1 day, 12 noon. Then we got him rising early Sunday, that's a day and a half. We're still missing a day and a half, if that's true. So something ain't mathing. Share this, like this, subscribe. Either Jesus was not crucified on Friday, which I don't think he was, or did not rise on Sunday. Maybe, or both. Now, let me read you another passage of scripture. Then I'm gonna close this. I'm not really into as deep as I wanted to go, but I feel you. And I'm gonna let you continue to enjoy your Easter and your resurrection. St. John chapter number 20, verse 1 will help us out a little bit on this. Because the reason I'm saying is, as a child, I used to sit there and calculate it, but you don't dare ask your parents these questions when you're growing up. And I'm sure that people sitting there now who are much intelligent than we were as children say, wait a minute, I don't get it. Is this real or not? Because if it's real, I should be able to calculate 3 days and 3 nights, and I'm only calculating a day and a half and 2 nights. What's up? Where's the rest? All right, let's see if we can get some help for this before I go. Early on the first day of the week, St. John chapter 20, verse 1. While it was still dark, that's key, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the tomb had been removed from the entrance, which means Jesus had risen while it was still dark. Now this is key. Traditionally, the Jewish day begins with darkness after the sunset. So their day begins at, if I'm not mistaken, at 6 p.m. and it ends at 6 p.m. So 6 a.m. to the Jewish calendar is like our 12 noon, the middle of the day, right? Or the 3 o'clock, whatever. All right, let's work this out. So a great while before day, that's when she went. We don't know how. We don't know the gap between the time Jesus rose and the time she went. But we knew when she got there a great while before day, because that's what St. John 20, verse 1 says. Early on the first day of the week. Now don't let that trip you out. The first day, that's how we made it Sunday, right? But was Sunday really the first day of the week? Okay. While it was still dark, Mary went to the tomb and saw that the tomb had been removed. The stone had been removed from the entrance. So a great while before day would make it sometime Saturday that Jesus rose, because if the day starts at 6 p.m. and she went a great while, and it is Sunday, the day hadn't started yet. It was a great while before day. I know you're thinking great while before the sun came up. That's not what it says. It says a great while before the day. So if Sunday, and we want to hold to that, is truly the first day of the week, and she went a great while before day, their day starts at 6 p.m., that means she went before 6 p.m. on Sunday, which means she was still in Saturday. And if she was still in Saturday, he couldn't have died Friday. Now, I've always subscribed, and I don't have time to go into this. Maybe I'll do a part 2 on my podcast, that it was a Wednesday. And I laid out I've taught that before. But of course, that would mess up the weekend. Now, if it was a Wednesday, I could get 3 days: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, almost Sunday. Because it didn't say it was day, a new day. It was a great while before the new day. That's why we do sunrise services, because we think this says it was a great while before sunlight day. No, it was a great while before a new day, which means she was still in Saturday, which means Jesus had risen by the time she got there. So sometimes Saturday, if we want to hold true to this, that Sunday is the first day of the week, Jesus rose Saturday sometime, which means he couldn't have died or been crucified on Friday. Which always takes me back to what I've taught for years, that perhaps he was crucified on a Wednesday, especially when I go in and look at the times that the feast of the Passover was celebrated, because you have to connect his death with the feast of the Passover, which I'm not sure that's going to be a Friday. I'm going to finish here. Like, share, subscribe. Don't be surprised if I do a pop-up special, part 2, on my podcast this week, The Voiceover Now. The purpose of this session is to encourage us, I want to end with that, to refrain from celebrating around fallacies, around ceremonials that mean nothing, that deny us the real power of Jesus. Paul says that I may know him, the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his suffering. The reality is this. We don't get nothing else out of this. I think we can all agree. Jesus has risen and lives in you. Now, what will you do with that reality? That Jesus is risen and he lives in you. What will I do with that? That if there's not but one reality we can agree on, Jesus is risen, lives in us, Christ in us, the hope of glory. What will we do with that reality? Thank you so much for your time, your patience. We apologize for the glitch. Like, share, subscribe, and follow. Peace. God bless. Don't forget www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com.